Well, hello and welcome to the new video. And you probably know this car because it is a Renault Clio by the design, but Mitsubishi by the badge. This is the Mitsubishi Colt, and this is the after facelift model, which you can see by the after facelift design of the Renault Clio front mask, with these very striking LED lights and this sort of a V signature here on the side. And it's a very good looking car. I really do love the design of the car. Every time I come by it. Then on the front we have a very sort of a big aerodynamic element here on the side, this side tunnel which leads the air around the wheel. The aerodynamic coefficient is great, being a B-class hatchback is only 0.28, which I really do like. Now in terms of wheels, we have probably the biggest wheels that you can get. These are 17-inch wheels with a tire of 205 45 17. So wide enough wheel. And in terms of the positive caster, we are running quite a bit of positive caster, which is very good for the behavior of the car. So that's good. I think the wheelbase is around 2.4 meter, which is normal in this category. What I like though is the conception of the car, where the driver sits, just where the B pillar is. So quite a good conception for the weight distribution for the car. Now in terms of the geometry of the wheels, we are running more negative camber there on the front, and also some negative camber here at the rear, but the rear also has quite a visible toe out. So that's good for stability in the corners. And this car, just like the VW Polo, is very almost extremely stable for its class in the corners. Almost like too much that it's slightly boring in the corners. Too stable. Now, as we come to the rear of the car, we have a typical change of the design for this rebranding. So we lose the Renault badge here, but we get the Mitsubishi lettering here and the Colt badge here on the left side. I have to say, I actually do quite like this Mitsubishi being very wide throughout the rear door. I really do like that. And we also have a very small rear windscreen and extremely small wiper. Now, let's go to the boot. This is a typical opening of the boot. So we open it here from the bumper and then open it up. And we get a very good boot of 390 liters of capacity. We also have a subwoofer here, which is cool. We have a Bose stereo. And being a Mitsubishi, they've added this sort of a rubbery cover with the name Colt on it, and you can also raise the floor, which you have now stored here. So yeah, quite a good boot for its class. The doors are pretty light to manage, so yeah, quite nice. And now let me also maybe try how the seating is at the rear of this car. Oh, well, as expected, Renault Clio is one of the smaller cars in this class, and therefore the space here for a big person in the rear is really not that sufficient. You have to have your knees around the seat just like that. And also in terms of comfort, there is no connectivity. You cannot plug your device in here, and also you don't have the air conditioning here in the central panel. So yeah, but you have a speaker in the door and a decently sized door bin for a can of some cool drink, right? And lastly, let's have a look at the engine. So the engine, well, you have actually only two engines with this petrol Mitsubishi. Just wonder why it doesn't want to open. Okay, there we go. And so this is of course the more powerful one, being a in style version of equipment. So the best version of equipment is the 1.0 turbo, called TMPI, or if it was a Renault, it is the 1.0 TCE. It produces 91 horsepower. It's an engine with indirect injection of the fuel, which is very good for the city. So we have 91 horsepower, 160 newton meters of torque, available from 2000 to 3750 RPM. And yeah, it also has electronically controlled wastegate valve, this turbo. So that's a nice feature of the engine. And we have the dynamics of 0 to 100 kilometers in 12.2 seconds, and the top speed of 174, so 180, let's call it. So yeah, in terms of dynamics, these are the numbers. Maybe, yeah, the same as it was in the past with these 100 horsepower engines. It is a bit of a loss that we don't get the 4-cylinder engine, nor in the Clio and nor in this car. But yeah, anyway, it still feels reasonably nippy, and the car is quite fun to drive. So yeah, that's good. But anyway, let's talk a little bit more about the driving experience itself by taking it further down the road and driving it. Oh. Well, good morning and welcome inside the Mitsubishi Colt, which is a Renault Clio nowadays. But it's not a big problem really, because Renault Clio is a great car. I'm always so happy sitting in the Renault Clio. Let me just start up the car, because these are the hot days of the year. Let me get on the air conditioning a little bit. Well, Renault Clio is always a great car because it always feels like like a shoe, like it fits you so well. And I like that it's compact, but still, despite being compact, you can adjust the seat incredibly. Also, the steering wheel, the driver's position is really nice. Sort of sitting lower under the dashboard. I really do like that. Then what I like about this generation Clio is the interior. So you have very good quality of the materials, nice soft touch plastic here. Well, not here on the door cars in this spec, but in the Renault you get that. And a very nice interface. So you have this nice Google infotainment, which is very easy to use, very easy to navigate. I really do like that. Then you have the shortcut button, so you can very quickly turn off the start and stop, very quickly change the driving mode. So you have MySense, Sport and Eco, as you can see. You can of course choose the color. I chose this Renault yellow. Then you have hardware control for the air conditioning, which I really do love. So that's great. And then you get also some good practicality. Despite being a small compact car, so you have this charging dock, wireless charging dock here, 2 USB-A connectors. Then you have the separate place for your card, but you do know that already, because the Renault Clio has been here for a long time. 2 cup holders, small but very deep armrest, which is nice. You can also adjust it, so that's good. Some decent door bins, and yeah, there is no space here. And then on the left from the steering wheel, you can heat the steering wheel, set up the lights, and turn off the lane assist with one touch. And the good thing is that when you turn it off, it is turned off forever. So that's really nice. Then also the seats, nice and comfy, typical Renault. In this spec, they are a combination of probably synthetic leather and fabric, but they are quite nice. All right, anyway, let's go for a drive in the Clio, so in the Colt. One thing I have to give to this car being a Renault is the design. I find the design of the car really fantastic for a small car. It's really lovable little car. So yeah, and every time I walk up to the car, it just feels and looks like sort of luxurious, you know. It really looks fantastic. So that's good. So the thing is, after the facelift, we are only left with basically 2 engines for this Mitsubishi, and also in the Renault Clio in terms of petrol engines. So you get the 1.0 MPI, let's call it, which is a 67 horsepower engine. So that's the base engine, and then you get this 1.0 turbo. Here in Mitsubishi it's called T MPI, I think, and this thing gives you 91 horsepower. And I think up to 200 Newton meters of torque. So yeah, that's the most you can get with the petrol power only. While I think this 3-cylinder you can certainly feel that you have less power. It does 0 to 100 in 12.2 seconds, which is again slower than before when you had the 4-cylinder. I have to say, with this manual, it's still loads of fun to drive. Honestly, you still get that sense of feeling of fun when you're driving a small car. You know, you can change gears very quickly and rev the car if you want, and it's just so nicely maneuverable and agile in the corners when you're changing directions. You know, it has no problem with that, like you would have in a big car. So it's still a lovable small car to drive. And well, is the power enough? The 191 horsepower, is it enough for the car? Well, I have to say, at some acceleration phases of the drive, because you have quite a short gearing really in the first 3 or 4 gears, and if you don't jump gears, it can feel at times that maybe there isn't much power to go with the traffic with some of the more powerful cars like Audis and Mercedes cars. But generally, I think it's really all right. I really have no problem with it. So yeah, but when you put your foot down and rev the engine, it's quite good actually. You know, the dynamics is there. You can join the motorway without any problem. The turbo spools and goes. You also, when you drive with the open windows, you can hear the turbocharger spooling. So that's quite cute, I have to say. So I think it's a very lovable driving experience. Now we're coming to this roundabout. Let's see if we can throw it in about a little bit. Look at that. Yeah, it just has good grip, and what I like about the behavior, you just feel the lightness in your hands. That's what I love. This car weighs, despite being top equipment, 1195 kilos, so almost 1200 kilos, which is, you could say, for a small car, quite a lot, maybe, but still, considering the weight of other cars nowadays, it's a lightweight car, right? But if you would be comparing it to the predecessors, it would certainly be heavier. So yeah, now that I'm braking, I have to say I like the brake pedal, really nicely set up, quite stiff, good feedback through it, nice. The clutch in these cars, with these engines, is pretty light, so it's really like I can't even describe it. It's so light, like it's so much fun to change gears, because you can do it so quickly thanks to that. So it's alright, and you sort of learn the bite point of the clutch just by experience. You don't have really some sense of heaviness on your foot, so it's quite interesting, these light clutches. Okay, in a moment the road opens up. Let's try to give it a little bit of beans. Actually, we can do it now. I put it in the third, and here we go. 5,100, 110. Oh, come on! I mean, it is nice. I mean, it is really enough. This car, 130 without any big trouble. Yeah, I think even this 100 horsepower is very decent. And then what's good, you have a 6-speed gearbox nowadays, not like in the past. So this car can travel at 130 under 3000 RPM and giving you very good consumption, very good economy. So that's great. Also, what I like, this car has very low aerodynamic coefficient. I think it's 0.28 or 29 for a small hatchback. Really great. And it's also very well noise isolated, so it's really quiet on your drive. So that's another lovable thing. And the great thing about the 6-speed gearbox on the motorway is the consumption. So I have the average of 5.3 liters for 100 kilometers, and that is also with the motorways at 130, 140 kilometers per hour. So it is fantastic efficiency, really. it's you know, these small cars, they've come a long way, and apart from the great fun they can give you nowadays, they are fantastic everyday cars. There isn't that negative thing that they had before, that like they were only for the city. These cars are for everything, for the family life, for the motorways. They are great in all aspects, so that's fantastic. Okay, so I think that would be about it. Let's go to the likes and dislikes. Well, in between the dislikes, I would say this, even despite being the top version, Renault didn't give Mitsubishi quite the top version of the car, and you can see that by this door plastic here, which is quite rough than it would have been in the Renault. Also, in the Renault top spec, you get the ambient lighting for the doors, which you don't get here. You only get it here in the center. So really, this isn't the top spec if it was a Renault. This is the sort of a maybe mid equipment level, if I'm honest. But you do get all of the technological things. So you get the 360 camera, you get the automatic parking assistant still, which is very cool for people who have problems park even with a small car. So that's good. And yeah, otherwise the rest of the equipment is very good. You have a heated seat, heated steering wheel. So yeah, it's quite good. So the only drawback is this sort of materials and the lack of ambient lighting. So yeah. Then in between another dislike, I think, what should we put? Well, from my experience at least, I will tell, I heard the ventilator making a noise, which for a car with 13,000 kilometers, maybe I wouldn't expect. But now I don't hear it, for example. So I don't know why that was. But yeah, there isn't much to criticize about this car because you have great equipment. I also have the Bose stereo here with a subwoofer in the boot. Oh yeah, I know. So in the back there is no sort of connectivity. You cannot charge a phone in the back, and also you have no air vents for the rear passengers. So that is a little drawback in the summer. So that would be, and also the space in the back. Being a compact car, of course, you maybe wouldn't expect it, but there are some rivals which just have a little bit more space for the rear passengers. So the space in the back, particularly when I'm sitting as a driver, is really compromised. It's really only for children. But yeah, I think that would be about it in terms of dislikes. In between the likes, there are plenty. There are the looks, the aerodynamics that is fantastic. It allows the car to be really comfortable, even on long journeys. I think also the engine. So what I like about the engine is that it has indirect injection, which is very good in terms of reliability. But also they set it up in a pretty nice way. So when the turbo spools, it is from 1500 RPM. Yeah, you feel a pull. And actually for a 91 horsepower, it drives and pulls quite nice. It's really okay for your needs, for your everyday needs, even a little bit of overtaking. And it is thanks to car being reasonably light, 1195 kilos, right? Then I like the suspension. Well, it's a really nice driver's suspension. You have good amount of feedback through the steering wheel, through the seat. It is stiffer, but still quite comfy, which is good. So yeah, I'll try and throw it in here. Yeah, you just feel the lightness on the steering wheel. That's fantastic. You can also feel that the car leans onto the outer rear wheel first, which is good. Tells you that they gave a good caster to this car, which they did. So yeah, I think it's a very pleasant driving experience, even when you want to have a little bit of fun. As we go to my usual set of S's here on the way, let's try and take them quite fast. So we're doing 110. Let's try and do it with a little bit of squealing of the tires, right? 110, look at that. And for a small car, it is extremely stable. In the past, you had these small cars really sort of unstable at the rear, but this thing is really stable. It's yeah, it's really nice and stable. Well, the reason it is stable is because it has throw-out geometry of the wheels. So yeah, but it's almost too stable, I have to say, in the corners. With a small car, you want a little bit of that unstableness, so you can have a little bit of fun when it slides the rear, right? And then I think another good thing is the price. So this car, just over 20,000, which is a slightly less expensive than the Renault Clio. So you don't have to pay a little bit of an extra for the badge. You just buy this Mitsubishi Colt, and you get basically the same car as a Renault Clio. Well, not basically, but exactly the same car as a Renault Clio. Yeah, but just you get it for a little bit cheaper, and I quite like that. So it's a little bit of a life hack, right? So yeah, I guess that would be it to the Mitsubishi Colt 1.0 turbo. It's a car I really adore because it's basically a Renault Clio, and yeah, it's a great fun car to drive, to use every day. It's very nimble in the traffic, you can park it anywhere, fun to drive, comfortable to drive as well. Yeah, really thumbs up. So yeah, that would be it. If you like the video, well, keep watching, keep subscribing. More videos are coming soon, and I hope to see you in the very next one. In the meantime, take care of you, and goodbye.